What's up, guys? I'm Chris.
I'm Sean.
And this is the Whiskey Noobs. Alright, so we went back and forth a little bit about what we should film next.
We did.
So we try to, every Saturday, we film the video we wanted to film, and then we kind of go,
some extra stuff.
Hey, what should we do now? Because we don't want to waste our time
What
together.
else do we want to drink?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And usually, when you start seeing the videos later in the week, they start getting a little bit goofier, because that's when we've had whiskey.
Yeah.
But we thought about some of the videos we wanted to make, and we had a few different ideas. We could do a Scotch episode. We could do an Irish episode, single barrel. There was a lot of things we went back and forth on. And we'll probably still get to a couple more tonight, and you'll see those later on.
Yeah.
But we decided we wanted to do Scotch, because I think we're bourbon and rye guys.
Yes.
Right?
Sure.
That could have been the name of the channel, Bourbon and Rye.
Bourbon and rye guy.
The Bourbon and Rye guys. Yeah, oh well, we settled with the Whiskey Noobs. But we are going to do a Scotch video, and I don't want to do too much talking without something in my glass.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pour the Balvenie Double Wood 12 years. And the reason we have this is because Sean went on a little bit of a splurge the other day and bought a ton of whiskey, a lot of barrel proof stuff, a lot of really great stuff. And he's asked, hey, what do you want? And there were a few Scotches that I had in mind that have been recommendations from other channels and other whiskey blogs and such out there about which Scotches are good introductions for someone who likes bourbon.
Yeah.
And so the Glenfiddich 14 year was a recommendation. I think mainly because they actually spend some time aging in new oak barrels. So it's initially aged in used bourbon barrels,
American barrels.
And then it's the last bit of aging is done in new oak barrels, and so that's what kind of gives it that, I guess, more of a bourbon-friendly flavor.
Yeah,
and it is delicious stuff. As you can see, I've drank down a good amount of it, and I'm loving it. And to me, it's it's an interesting flavor profile. The other one that was recommended was the Balvenie Double Wood 12 year, and so this is actually aged in whiskey oak, traditional whiskey cask, mellows the maturing spirit, and that's it says vanilla spiciness. I like both those words. And then it's actually further matured in sherry oak cask. So that's pretty interesting. I like anything that they're doing weird stuff with, new stuff with, and that sounds kind of fun.
It does.
So that's what that's what we have in our glass now.
It sounds like it breaks away a little bit from that traditional Scotch that we've tried, in the past, that may be a little different.
Well, I'll say this. I've not tried lots of Scotch. So I've had Monkey Shoulder.
I've had 2 or 3.
Monkey Shoulder's a blended.
Yeah.
It's very funky. Like, very funky. And I don't want to bash it because there might be people out there who really love it.
I actually enjoyed it. He passed it on to me, and I didn't dislike it. It just...
Where did the bottle end up, Sean?
The bottle is at my neighbor's house after a night of drinking.
He left it. Yeah. I don't know how much you loved it if you
I just haven't picked it up yet.
Okay, all right. Whatever.
I just said I loved it. I said I liked it. It was good.
So it's a blended.
So
it's a blended Scotch, and it's just too funky for me. We both had Glenfiddich 12.
We did
at my brother's wedding.
Don't remember that.
After lots and lots and lots of whiskey. I liked it, but I'd also had lots and lots and lots of whiskey. I mean, it was my brother's wedding.
Wellers that night.
Yes, it was Weller. That was a Weller night. That was a Wild Turkey Rare Breed night. Yeah. Actually, there was a lot that night. So anyway, we liked it. But again, we were lots of whiskeys in.
Yeah.
So I guess that would make, after I have this will be my 4th.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and, I'll say this. The nose is interesting on it.
Yeah.
It's definitely lighter.
It's not as heavy
than
Scotch.
what we're used to from a bourbon perspective. I mean, the nose is not so overpowering.
Right, and from the Scotches that I've smelled, and I've had a naked grouse before as well. So and that had a heavier Scotch smoke, peat. This has got a lot of the lighter notes to it, a lot of the lighter fruits.
It's definitely lighter on the nose, without a doubt.
Yeah, but I do get a little of that. I do get a little of the peaty smell to it.
This is what, $70?
Yeah.
$70. Yeah. So I will say this, for $70 you can get some pretty darn good bourbon.
Yeah.
And even some pretty darn good rye.
Yeah, but this is a 12 year. So.
I'm just saying, that's the expectation. $70, what can you get out of American whiskey? And so there's a high bar there.
I agree.
Let's see what you say first.
That was smooth.
It's not the word I was going to use,
No.
but it certainly is smooth.
Yeah.
In the sense that it's not very overpowering. The flavor profiles, it's delicious. I'll tell you that. I mean,
it goes down really easy, is what I'll say.
Yeah, for sure. You could drink that with you could drink a lot of that with no issue.
And I would say from a seasonal standpoint, that's very summery.
I'll go with that.
Yep. Very summery, very July.
Is that our new thing? We just start describing whiskeys with like seasons.
Absolutely.
Just go. Specifically, the second week of June.
Well, when I drank a lot of beer, that was how I categorized my beer.
Oh, for sure.
So
stouts, pilsners,
exactly.
IPAs.
So this has a little bit of citrus to it, some fruits, very light, nothing heavy at all.
These are very similar.
Yeah, they are.
I can see why they were on the same recommendation list. And here's the thing: these were recommended by lots of different folks. Mm-hmm. So these two specifically, along with the Glenmorangie 10, I'm probably butchering that name. The Compass Box Spice Tree, both of which I told you to look for. Didn't find them. This was the one he did find. Yep. And I found this one at our local ABC. And I think this one was like $60. $62.
Yeah,
$62, $70. So very close.
No, I've had this one. So this is very similar to that, but I would say this has a, we'll try this in a minute, but this has a little heavier notes from what I remember that one being. But I don't dislike it. It's good.
A little bit of spice. Very little.
Yeah.
A little bit of spice.
It kind of reminds me of the Writer's Tears.
I'll go with that.
It does.
I agree with that.
It has some of the Writer's Tears, that copper distilled.
I'm having a hard time picking out tasting notes from this, just because none of the flavors... Nothing's coming forward. So, nothing's really standing out and saying, hey, here I am, this is the flavor profile. But this is delicious stuff. I will say this. It is a neck pour, so we got to be careful with that.
Yep.
Just because we don't want to sell it short.
Yeah.
Right now, am I feeling $70?
No.
I'm not feeling $70 right
now. Not right now. No, I'm feeling maybe 40. I'd be happy with.
Maybe if you want to say $70 just specifically because it is Scotch, because it does kind of have an interesting maturation process.
Yeah.
Maybe, something that I'm going to share with somebody who's never had it before. I think that this is a bottle, when it comes in the container here, that when this sits on your shelf, folks are going to think, man, that's probably some good stuff.
He really knows what he's doing.
Right. He really knows. He's not a whiskey noob.
Yeah.
And because it is, that's some pretty fancy stuff.
It is. Yeah. And it's metal on the tops too. So yeah, it's got a cool bottle.
It looks like a $150 bottle.
It does.
So from that standpoint, if you want something that looks cool on your shelf, and here's the other thing. I think someone like my brother...
He might like that.
Would probably enjoy this.
He would, because remember, he doesn't like the syrupy. He doesn't like the sweet.
And this is in that...
Yeah, I think he would.
This is in that proof range of, okay, because we know Americans are going to drink it, we're going to proof it up a little bit.
Yeah.
So it's 43%.
Okay, yeah, so it's...
So, a lot of scotches that I see are in the 40% category. Another one I had you look for was the Springbank. Yeah. I wanted a Springbank, and I'm not sure if they call it barrel proof or cask strength, but it's up there in proof, and that was the one I wanted you to find. Couldn't find it.
Yeah.
But I think that someone who's kind of new to whiskey, this would be a good one to introduce them. And so single malt. So we talked a little bit about this off camera.
We did.
So single malt Scotch.
More regulated outside of the States.
Yeah, in America it means nothing apparently.
Yeah.
But in Scotland, single malt means that this is 100% barley, but the single portion means that it's coming from one distiller. So the Balvenie.
There's no blend. They're not bringing it in.
They're not bringing it in from anywhere else.
So Balvenie is the only one that took that barley and matured it to that.
So when you get those folks who talk about single malt and they're kind of snobs, it's I only drink single malt. This is maybe one of the ones they're talking about. And it's aged 12 years. Again, that Scotch, 12 years, that doesn't mean the same thing that it does in the U.S. because I genuinely think it just takes longer in Scotland based off the temperate climate
Maybe.
to age. Whereas here in the States, we have these huge swings in temperature, so we can age stuff much quicker.
Yeah.
But this is delicious stuff. It's definitely one that I would, again, keep on my shelf just to kind of maybe impress people a little bit.
Yeah.
But also to be able to introduce to someone who's not necessarily, a whiskey drinker.
Yeah.
That's some smooth stuff.
And just some different moods. Maybe pour it. Sit down with it a night or two. So yeah, for sure.
I'm not mad at that though.
No, definitely not. I definitely didn't see the faces from that you got from the monkey shoulder. So, yeah.
All right, so the Glenfiddich 14. And I will say this too. As a bourbon guy, we don't normally see 14 on lots of bottles. I mean, you have to pay pretty high price tags to
10,
get that.
11, sometimes 15, but there's rare on that. So.
I'll say though, most of the stuff that we've had that we've really enjoyed has been around the 8 to 10 year mark.
Yes.
So you don't really need it, American whiskey, to be super aged.
No, I've even had some 6 years that I've really enjoyed a lot.
Oh, yeah, 4 years.
Yeah.
I mean, we got some bottle and bond stuff that we
Yep.
absolutely love. This stuff. Now, this is light fruit. It's spice.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
a little cinnamon even on it, like some spicy cinnamon fruit.
Yeah. So again, this is a single malt.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, our bourbon barrel reserve. So again, this is initially aged in ex bourbon barrels.
So it's
and I'd love to know whose bourbon barrels are they using.
Yeah, that would be interesting because it says I'm just reading off the back of the thing here. But it says matured in 2 types of American oak barrel. The ex bourbon casks are the bedrock, which is what they start with, and then they shake it awake in a deep new oak. So it's first in old bourbon first, and then they give it the new oak, which gives it a lot of the vanilla,
which is like
some of the lighter
best of both worlds because you're getting all those flavors that you're getting from the bourbon cask, but then you're also aging it in new oak, which is what you do for bourbon in the U.S. So that's kind of cool.
It is. It is, and I'm surprised with that process at that age. It is as light as it is. I'm going to be honest with you. Like that surprises me.
It is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, because my understanding is that this actually spends some time in barrels in the States, here in the U.S.
And like if you look at the oils on it, I mean it's a little sticky. So it's got some of the sticky oaks going on.
The nose on this is great though. I mean, it's not bold. It's not.
No, but it's still. I still get the same thing that I said the other night. It smells like pear. Like I get a very fresh pear from it, which I enjoy.
You know what it reminds me of? Like a light wine.
Yeah.
And if we're whiskey noobs, then I'm like absolutely no knowledge on wine. But
I don't get any grapes out of it.
This is like a dessert.
I would get
it's like a dessert wine.
Yeah, or maybe like a Japanese pear wine or something like that.
Man, it smells so good.
Yeah.
So, I mean, definitely getting pear. Pear's really coming through. I dare say I get grape juice from this.
Do you? I don't get the grape, but
like juicy juice
no.
as a kid.
It's a sweet, very sweet.
It smells delicious.
It does.
There's that spice. Again, it's very light.
That gives me, excuse me, that gives me like a cobbler kind of a flavor, like a fruity cobbler. Because I get a little bit of that bakery kind of sweetness out of it. I do taste some of the oak in it, just a little bitter as it's finishing. Because I'm getting flavor for quite a while off of this.
What are those spice cookies called?
Ginger,
like a
cookies?
ginger. Now you're looking at me like I don't remember. You don't remember either.
There's some in the cupboard.
Like ginger snaps kind of a thing?
Maybe ginger snap.
The Moravian
ginger cookies. Oh, yeah,
Moravian ginger
or molasses cookies. My grandmother was German. She called them pfeffernesses. So, yeah, pfeffernesses.
It's got a delicious nose, and it's very light. Again, this is a summer whiskey to me, a warm weather whiskey.
So you want to know where the new oak barrels were supplied from?
Uh-huh.
They were supplied from the Kelvin Cooperage in Louisville, Kentucky.
Okay, so they are Kentucky barrels. Does it say anything about
Oh, no,
the?
that's the new oak.
does it say
We
anything
want to
about
know
the
where
old
the
bourbon?
ex-bourbon barrels are
It
from.
does not tell you.
Yeah,
that.
see, that's what I want to know.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, because the new barrels, the cooperage, I mean, a new oak barrel is just a new oak barrel.
It is.
But one that's been used, are we talking Brown Foreman? Are we talking Wild Turkey?
I mean, there's so many that they
where's
could
it
have
coming
gotten.
from?
Yep. Yeah, what's the name of that big company that does all those?
MGP.
MGP. Yeah, could be something from there.
It's delicious. All right, so
Yeah.
these are only 2 Scotches, right?
Yeah.
And probably the only 2 that I can accurately give a review of, right? Because Monkey Shoulder was too funky. I don't want to hate on
It's
it.
too soon for you on
Right?
that. Yeah, it's too soon. We'll
The
revisit Monkey
Glenfiddich
Shoulder.
12, way too many whiskeys in.
Yeah, that doesn't count.
But of these 2, they're both very similar flavor profiles. So when they recommended these, they were absolutely right. There is nothing in these whiskeys that I dislike.
Yeah.
There's nothing in them that I go, oh, I can't have that. I don't enjoy that flavor. I don't get, any, and it's probably because these flavor profiles don't exist in these whiskeys, but I don't get the peat or the smoke or any of those things.
I get a little peat on the nose. I get that little bit on the nose.
See, I don't get any of
But
that.
it's just,
It's just
I
a
get little bit
light,
of Scotch
a
on the
light
nose.
whiskey, a little bit of sweet notes, a little bit of spice. They definitely remind me of Irish. Like if I had to choose between the whiskeys I've had, I would say these are more Irish.
Yeah.
I think the Irishes I've had have been a little more funky than these, and kind of in a good way. I would say that I prefer these over the Irishes that I've had.
I do for sure. The Irish that I'm really stuck on right now is the Riders Tears. That's one you got me for Christmas, and I've gotten through most of that bottle. I've actually really enjoyed it.
It's a good sipping whiskey.
It is.
I reach for that.
And,
I'll put it in a rocks glass,
yeah.
and I'll drink it while I'm making dinner.
So I would say, compared to the Riders Tears, I might prefer the Glenfiddich a little more.
I'd have to agree with that.
Yeah,
I think that the Balvenie is smoother
Mm-hmm.
for someone who's really new to whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
I think that this is in
But
that territory.
This has been open for 2 weeks.
It has opened up. This isn't
this
that
one
core.
is not.
It isn't that core.
And there's a lot to be said about that. Some may dispute that, but I'm telling you.
But what I really love in whiskey, right here lately, what I've really enjoyed is high proof,
Yep.
bold, intense flavors.
Yeah.
I don't need it to be complex, right? Complexity. I don't need complex. It's certainly delicious when
Just
you get
a few
it.
notes that are really outstanding.
Right. I just want a few notes that are really going to deliver, that are going to carry through. It's going to have a great finish. Something that's really going to just stand out, right?
Now, I'll say, earlier tonight we reviewed the Infinity bottle by Barrel, and that was complex in a way that every time I drank from my pour, I
Got something
discovered something
Yeah.
different. I enjoyed that.
That was great. No,
You know,
it is great.
So
It is great. But if I had to choose between that and that Jack Daniel's single barrel
barrel proof.
that we had the other night,
134 proof.
I hate to say it. I don't want to say that I would choose Jack Daniel's, but I would choose the Jack Daniel's.
By far, and I told you that the other night, and maybe we'll review that coming up, and we can find something that compares to it, or we'll just review that. But that right now, if you can find it, is my favorite bourbon.
$60.
$60, Jack Daniel's, single barrel proof.
We kind of strayed a little bit from the topic,
But anyway.
but
Yeah.
ultimately, what I'm getting at is, I'm okay right now saying that I'm a bourbon guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I'm okay with that. I don't think it's a bad thing to say. We are definitely not done trying Scotches.
No.
You know, I think from here maybe we do some research into what's the step up from these. You know, if you've got suggestions, leave them in the comments.
Or maybe some things that don't cost this much that we can try. I'd be interested in revisiting like the Naked Grouse or something.
Yeah,
and
we
just,
certainly do
something like that. I mean, just so.
I'd like to have the Glenfiddich 12 again. You know, when a little fresher, I guess.
Yeah.
But we're definitely going to continue to explore Scotch. I would like to kind of step up to some of that heavily smoked, heavily peated. To some of the Isla stuff that's kind of like, you know, Mermaid BO.
Yeah, like, was it Lafroig? Is what we were trying to
Yeah.
try?
I'd like to kind of work up to some of
Yeah.
that stuff, and I think we'll eventually get there.
Yeah.
But if you have recommendations on where we go from here, and bear in mind that we want to step up gradually. I would like my introduction to Scotch to be kind of a step up from, all right, I'm a bourbon guy, right?
It's kind of the way we did bourbons, I'll be honest with you.
We did. We started out lower proof.
Yeah.
Just
kind of
a little
stepped
more
up.
on the budget side
Yeah.
and kind of worked our way up from there.
Yeah.
And I'd like to start the same way with Scotch. Price tag, let's say we stay under $100 a bottle. We'd love to be under $70 a bottle.
Yeah, and $100. I'll be honest with you guys out there. $100 is kind of our cutoff.
That's
limit.
like our ceiling.
Yeah, it really is. Not because we don't. It's just one of those things where we've tried stuff that has been right at 100 or a little more, and there's a really big expectation.
$70 is a sweet spot.
It is. Yeah, between 50 and 70 is where we found
Yep.
the stuff that we really enjoy. So anyway,
So yeah, I just have to say that these are good.
Yeah.
I mean, they are good.
they are.
If you poured me these, I would not be upset.
No.
I like having both of these bottles on my shelf. I think it's great that I can reach for, I can reach for a 14-year-old single malt and pour it for somebody. I did that tonight. I poured that for my future brother-in-law tonight. I said, hey, I got a 14-year single malt.
Scotch.
And now he is a whiskey noob. So for him, he's thinking, oh man, he's pouring some incredible stuff. But he does drink like a fish.
Yeah.
He doesn't take shots because he's a little more refined than that. But he definitely drinks
Downs
much
quick.
He drinks much faster than I do. But he enjoyed it. He really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And this is our introduction to Scotch. I'm pretty happy with it.
Absolutely. That's a good
I'm
start.
still firmly a bourbon guy. Firmly a bourbon guy.
Yes, it is.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
And if you're firmly a Scotch guy, that's okay too.
Yep. Absolutely.
We still love you. But again, leave us some comments on some Scotches you think we should try.
Yeah.
Definitely like this video. Go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. We would love that. We want to grow our channel mainly just so we can share with as many people as possible.
That's the goal.
And ring the notification bell so you stay notified of all the videos we have coming up. If you're not following us on Instagram, head over to Instagram. You can find us under the Whiskey Noobs. And you can also email us at whiskeynoobs@gmail.com. We would love any feedback that you have. Comments, good or bad. We just love the engagement.
Yeah, just the conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll reply.
It's been great. The folks that have already commented and reached out, it's been awesome. And we love the community. Thank you so much for watching. Cheers to next time. We're going to pour some more whiskey. No, I don't think I can get it. There we go. I got it. They're opening it backwards from the way you should open it. Are you rolling? I'm drooling.
So glad we got that.
Dude, this thing doesn't want to open up. My wife's rolling her eyes behind the camera. She'll let her open it. Ooh, that's a fancy top. Look at that.
That is pretty fancy.
Cork it a little bit.
We'll make a good bottom for a
All right.
fishing room.
Listen, mic in there.
Oh, it's tight.
Ooh!
That's a good sound. Don't bogart it.
That's interesting.
Oh, it is. Very interesting. It's like a